All right, guys, we're going to break down some of the recordings we did on Monday Night Modern.
We
Commentary
sure are.
brought to you by Steven Dykman and Larry Fields. I am going to use this as a practice session. I'm going to be getting with Andrew, and we're going to be jamming. Well, not really jamming, but we're going to be doing commentary
You're gonna
for
be
the Big
jamming some
2K.
commentary. You're gonna be
Uh,
jamming some commentary down listeners' throats, and it's gonna be great. And yeah, so it will be very good practice for you. And funny enough, Andrew already got some practice in because Andrew and I have we've already talked about some of these matches. Actually, funny enough, but because of some of our just being new to doing the recordings and stuff, we had one of the computer was on mute basically, so nothing that Andrew and I said was heard until round four, which is cool. So at least we got that one. But Andrew already got some practice, which is good.
yep, Andrew definitely got practice. I'm going to pull out my inner Jim Ross. I'm going to be good old JR Saturday. By
Good.
God Almighty, he's broken in half. But yeah, let's go ahead and have some fun. This is I believe this was round one match between fellow Swish Gaming member Daniel Warden and
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes,
So
sir.
we're gonna go ahead, start the video, and we're gonna see how this match goes. If memory serves me correctly, it's Loris on Loris action. It's Hammer versus Heart and
Scales.
Scales Affinity. There we
Yep.
go. We got this. We got this. All right. Three, 2, 1. Let's have some fun.
Yeah. So uh, Dan, we Andrew and I didn't find out until like the end of this match when we were talking about it on Monday. But Dan actually was the weekly bounty,
Yes, he was the
which means
bounty. So to
yes.
break that down a little bit,
Yep.
that how that works is when you're a bounty, you have a target on your head the rest of the evening. Whenever you
Mhm.
beat, if the bounty person loses, every time they lose, they have to give a pack away,
Yep.
which is pretty cool. And
Yep.
we apologize that there's a glare. We're gonna try to
Yeah. Yeah.
script this
Yeah.
out as best we can. Over on the right side, you're gonna see they have a spring leaf drum. Over on the
Yep.
left,
Dan.
Daniel did bobble our opponent. He does
Yep.
have a springly drum as well, it looks like, and he has the 1-1 for 0. What's that name? Memnite?
Esper Sentinel. Oh, sure. Yep. Memnite. Esper Sentinel's in the mix there too, I think.
Yeah, he's in the middle,
Um,
I believe.
there's a Zabaz
And the
from Tyler
hangerback
and a Hangerback
Walker.
Walker.
All right.
Now, funny enough, um, Tyler's kind of a local up and coming player, and he's been playing a lot of skills recently. I've played against him like 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe even longer. But you can see here, Dan's kind of taking a look at what these cards do, and Dan's a very experienced, strong player. And this is definitely one of the benefits of playing a deck like Hardened Scales. Is it's still a fine deck, but it's definitely by no means like tier one right now.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the benefits to playing this deck is that you're gonna run into people who have to read your cards. They don't, maybe they didn't play a lot of standard when Hangerback was super dominant in that standard format.
Yeah, because you got the element of surprise, right? And
Exactly,
that's one
exactly.
big benefit you have to playing
Yeah.
decks that aren't. It's kind of like if I pick up Dredge right now, a lot of players are kind of unfamiliar with it, and I get a
Oh yeah.
lot of good W's because of that.
Oh yeah.
So
And
it
here we
does
got
look
Pure
like
Steel Paladin. Yep.
yeah, Daniel's down to 19 here because we not got a little swinging with the little flying pesky little insect.
Or is it the Painland?
Oh,
I
it
think
might
the
have been the
insect
Pain
might have
Land.
tapped. I think the
Okay.
insect tapped for mana to a drum.
Oh, you're right. Yep, you're right. It was the silent clearing. Didn't see it over there. So
Yep,
he's
he just played a Pure Steel off it. It was Silent Clearing and the Springleaf Drum. Put a Pure Steel into play, and then Dan cast a the Shadow Spear and drew a card. And I think that's and now
yeah.
he's moving that around with Pure Steel Paladin. Where do I want my equipment? I can put it anywhere because I have Metalcraft.
Yeah, you can
Good
keep
old
moving it
Pure
all
Steel.
day long.
You sure can.
All right, so we have a 19-20 game. It's pretty
Hmm.
close. Right now it's looking like Daniel's starting to push a little farther ahead. He's got a lot of card advantage on the board.
Yeah, a lot of resources over there.
And that's
your
kind
Swift
of
Paladin's going to start going to work here.
yeah, that's terrifying when you're on the harn skill side because you know
Yeah,
that you're not gonna be able to keep max like get to the same level of card value that they're generating right now. So
right,
you're gonna
right.
have to try to find a way to close this door sooner than later.
Yep. Um,
And
and I
unfortunately, it's
definitely,
looking pretty difficult. Um, and it looks like he's fetching down to try to like maybe it could help him draw a little bit as well because right now he needs to try to figure out. Did he even fetch for? Did he fetch for? Did he fetch?
I think, I don't, I thought he got, I thought,
Oh, that
so
was
when I,
Saga. Saga. That's
yeah,
what it was.
Saga went and got the second Zabaz, I believe, is
Yes.
what's happening. Um, and he's trying to load up this hanger back, try and give himself some defense from a big creature, but Shadow Spear is making blocking very difficult if a hammer comes into play.
Yeah. You do have the legend rule, which
Yep.
is pretty cool because you got the those have module on them, if
They
I'm not
do, and that's
mistaken.
why. Yep, and that's why the counters went onto the hanger back. Okay, and here's a walking ballista. It's like for one. Yep, yep. Uh, walking
And
ballista, definitely
yeah,
one
he
of the
does
best
have an
cards in the
Ozolith
matchup.
on the board. We had to get him to move it over so it was in more in the
Ah,
screen.
yes. Okay, I had no idea that was on the board.
Yep.
That might be what he tutored with the saga actually, because I think he played the Zabaz from his hand.
Yeah, that would
But
make a lot of sense.
either way, yes, there's an Ozolith, which is pretty cool here. So Dan taking a look at his hand, thinking about if he has some lethal action here. But yeah, Andrew's like the hammer expert, so to speak, on our team, and he was kind of telling me that this matchup is definitely he thinks a little favored for Hammer, just because the Hammer's typically more explosive than Scales,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I think it's a little more busted draws, and we're kind of seeing some of that right now. Just the Scales is definitely like it's kind of doing its thing. It doesn't have a hardened Scales, but it's still doing some good stuff, but just not even close to as good as what Dan's got going on right now. And so here we go. Here comes an ink moth. And he's attempting to move the Shadow Spear onto the ink moth. And Tyler is thinking if he wants to respond with the ballista. And he's trying to kill the ink moth. And now, yeah, Dan walked him in. Dan walked him right into this hammer. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Now, I'm assuming that ballista does not have four counters on it. Is that correct? Very,
Yeah, I think
very
that's
confused.
incorrect. Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, because I remember when I remember I'm actually glad we're rewatching this because when we watched this live the first time and I saw this four, I was very confused as as to what was going on. I was like, wait, why didn't he just kill all of Dan's stuff? Now I get it.
Yeah,
Dan was kind of
because
walking him through what happened, and then Tyler put the die back on the walking ballista, and it was on a four, which confused the heck out of me. Okay,
no,
good deal.
no,
And now
that's
Ink
definitely
Moth is
understandable.
yeah, Ink Moth gonna pound, gonna do what Ink Moth does. Kabam.
Yeah, Walker Ballista's gone. One damage marked on the Ink Moth Nexus. I remember Daniel because I was right there for this matchup.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, he was specifying how there is one damage marked.
yep,
And then what was also being discussed at this time is because this is actually Andrew was not over on full commentary with you quite yet
right. He
because
wasn't yet, and he told me about this later. Actually, this interaction, which I did not know.
yup because of how the state based effects work, you still get the three counters from the hangerback walker.
Yeah, you
The
get the
3/1
three
ones, I
tokens.
yeah. Which I
Yep.
wasn't aware, but Andrew was right there, and as somebody who's been playing countless games of Hammer Magic, even back before it
Yeah.
was even playable.
Yeah, and someone just really who understands how Inkmoth Nexus works,
That
because he's
too,
also
and
played a
what I was
lot of
gonna get,
Affinity.
because he's also played like every affinity deck. He's done Harn
Yeah,
Scales. He's done Mox Opal Affinity. He's even played bad affinity decks in Legacy.
Yep.
He loves him some artifacts. Yeah, tonight we were actually testing Hammer versus Scape Shift on stream tonight, and I bollywopped him around. I think he might have beat me once. Matchup did not feel good for Hammer, I'll tell you that. Alright, so it does look like it looks like we lost Steven for a second, but he'll be back. It does look like indeed that Daniel's gonna take game one. We got an Arcbound Ravager, but that might be a little too late to the table. Putting 4 counters, so he has a flying 5-5, but with Daniel being at 32, that's going to be a big issue for him to try to climb back. So let's see what he does here. He's got the Springly Drum untapping, so he's got a full grip of mana essentially. Alright, so 4 min, 5 maximum amount of mana he can utilize. Yeah, it looks like he's just going to go and try to finish off this game. Yeah, I think he's going to figure out the interaction where he can give it flying again. Yep, he does recognize that. Yep. He has get so for those that aren't aware, you can go ahead and put the Shadow Sphere on the Inkmoth Nexus. It does lose flying, but you can reactivate the Inkmoth Nexus and it regains flying. Yep, and this is it. Not Andrew, but Daniel explaining the interaction. And then with the Shadow Sphere is huge because that's going to be able to get through all these blockers. If I can calculate, I guess he could Ravager to try to protect himself from dying, but is that a little too late to try to get back in this game? Welcome back to the party.
Hello, I'm back, everybody.
Yeah, we had a little technical difficulties there. We lost the internet again because of the cats. But I
Yep.
was able to walk them through. I was letting them know how Daniel recognized the interaction with Eekmoth, Nexus, and Hammer.
Yes. Yes.
Very cool
That's good.
interaction.
Yes. Good. Okay. Now let me pull this back up. Okay. Here we are.
Yeah, it looks like Daniel's going to take game one. That's
Yep. Very far ahead.
Yeah, and I don't know how many. I can't tell you how many infect counters and poison counters I should say Tadler has, but it has to be some probably between like 1 and 3, honestly, because he he had to do some blocking on that ink moth, and it wasn't big enough to trade.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming some damage came through because right now the ink moth is what a 1-2-12.
Yeah. It looks like it.
Okay, he did. Oh, he just blocked now. He just blocked with the whole board.
Yeah, and so Tyler lost his entire board to trade for a singular Inkmoth Nexus, is what we just saw.
He
Yikes.
traded his whole board for a land drop.
Yep.
That is brutal.
Props to Tyler for staying alive, though.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, Ingenious Smith going to town here. Now I forget who it was, but Andrew said that Dan's playing a specific Moto Grinders list.
You said okay. Repeat that one more time. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Oh, we lost him again. It's okay. So Daniel was able to take game one, as I mentioned. Very close match with Tyler. Honestly, like he did give far ahead, but Tyler was getting closer and closer to turn that corner. I was shocked he was able to stay in the game like he was. So Tyler, kudos. But now we're going to post board matchups. I'm very curious on what both sides of the coin is going to be doing. If I was Daniel, I'm going to just try to be as explosive. Now let Tyler set up and do his game plan because Tyler's going to benefit from like turn 3 and beyond. Where I think Daniel wants to try to get this game closed as soon as possible. He needs to keep his foot on the gas. Tyler needs to prevent him from dying on turn 1 or 2. He's going to bring in probably cards like he probably does have cards similar like Force of Vigor and things like that, or something of the artifact removal nature being green based. I expect him to be all in on trying to do that and trying to just get to the mid late game where he can just like generate some value off making some Thopters or getting a little 1/1 flyer that he can put a bunch of counters on. Tyler will be on the play. Looks like they're going to make sure they get good adequate shuffling, which I'm all for. All right, we're shuffling up. We're ready to battle. Okay. All right. So I see two lands in Tyler's hand. Um, that's about all I could see out of it. Can't really see much Daniels. I want to say he has double Ornithopter, but I don't know how much of that's actually true. I want to put it as 80% sure he has two Ornithopters in his hand. I think I see Springleaf Drum. I definitely see a Bauble. Oh, there's a Saga. Saga and Bauble. There's a Pithing Needle in this hand as well. Okay, so he did in fact have Pithing Needle. He must have only had one Ornithopter. I must have. Oh no, he did have the two Ornithopters. There's one. It's with the Springleaf Drum. So on the other side, he's got one of those little fancy ones with the Muldrow 1. Okay, the module's pretty good. All right, another little flyer.
Uh-huh. Lyric, could you do me a favor and go ahead and share the screen again?
Yeah, of course. Yep. Right now, it looks we have Pithing Needle on the Artbound Ravager.
Right, and I remember when we watched it on Monday, I was curious if the Bauble saw a Ravager, because Andrew and I were both saying that usually in this matchup, Ballista is by far the best card. So Andrew was thinking that Dan should name Ballista in this spot, but that didn't happen. Obviously, excuse me, he named Ravager, and I'm wondering if he saw the Ravager uh, with a Bauble. I think he bobbled him the turn prior to this, if I remember properly.
Yeah,
Uh,
so I don't remember if he actually looked at and saw a Ravager, or maybe he just thought that was the card that he's focused on because he was trying to do the Eat
yeah.
Moth kill so much in the last game, and Ravager was what was delaying the process.
Uh huh. Yep. It's true.
So maybe that could be the thing. I don't know.
Yep. Um, and you know, Andrew and I were also talking about this. Obviously, I was saying earlier, Tyler. You know, he's a pretty young guy. He's definitely at the earlier stages of his Magic career here. I really think that Andrew and I were both saying this. Tyler's keep here was pretty weak. This hand just really, it's very slow. It didn't really do much of anything. It didn't have a hardened scales on one. So far it has had like no interaction at all. It hasn't had a ballista. Maybe he had a ravager, maybe he didn't. It's hard to really say when we can't see the hand. Um, but definitely a pretty weak keep on Tyler's part, and in the future he'll definitely want to be a little more aggressive with his mulligans. And we were also talking about how in this matchup, I feel like the Hammer player is the aggro deck pretty much in all facets. And Tyler actually needs to be kind of like the control deck in this matchup, using like Ballista to control the board, using cards like I assume Natural State is in his sideboard, but I don't know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Natural State would be very good in the matchup, obviously. Um, but really think Tyler, unless he has that crazy explosive hardened skills draw, and even then you kind of can use the hardened skills to still be the control role too. Just Ballista is like so wildly important. But it was a pretty lackluster hand from Scales.
I'll agree with you 100%. You just need to be able to be more explosive. When you were gone for that brief moment and they were in the sideboarding process, I was
Yeah,
mentioning scales. Typically, is if I was going to play scales, the way I'm going to attack hammer is I'm going to try to remove your creatures. I'm going to prevent
yeah,
that turn two, turn three kill
I agree.
setup,
Yep,
and I'm
yep,
going to eventually be able to grind you out. Now, Hammer,
exactly.
I think, is going to do the same thing where they're trying to actually go as and trying to kill you as fast as possible. They don't want to have
Yeah,
to play the grind game because they know the efficient removal that you're going to bring in, especially with it being a green deck. Green has such good artifact answers. I
yep,
don't want to deal with that. I on the hammer side, I would be expecting cards they might be playing Force of Vigor. They're going to be playing a lot of like spot artifact removal,
yep,
spot creature removal that like
yep.
is very efficient against me because I don't want to go in the long game against them. Like I
We
feel like
talked
their
about
Lorises are better too.
Yep, yep. And we talked about how Dan probably cut Esper Sentinel for a prismatic ending, but I think they'll show us how they sideboarded at the
Mm-hmm.
end, so we'll get to figure that out here pretty soon. But Andrew was saying he didn't think Esper Sentinel really does much in this matchup, and I pretty much agree with that. I mean,
Yeah, because most of the stuff they're playing are creatures, right?
yeah,
So
a good amount, yeah,
yeah, I would say majority. Like yeah, obviously you
yeah,
got your like module and and your other cards like that,
yeah,
Shadow
yeah.
Spears. But majority you're gonna be playing like your creatures like the Ravengers, like this little bee. I forget its name.
Zabaz,
Habaz it is.
Zabaz, yeah, yeah, and yeah. So Tyler just kind of trying to cling to life here, but just there's just too much happening on the other side of the board. It equips his own Shadow Spear, but his Zabaz is a lot smaller than Daniel's hammered up Ornithopter. And if Dan has another hammer here, this game's going to be all she wrote, as they say. And we'll see what happens. There is another hammer in Dan's hand. I saw that. Um, yep, Mem Knight. Dan going through the motions here. Now he's going to swing with both Ornithopters, and this is a smart play because this lets you equip either one with the hammer. Yep. And Tyler gonna, yep, no block it, and boom. Wham bam for 22 damage or something like that, I think, here. Lots of damage. Tyler goes down 2-0. Dan starts off 1-0. Congratulations to our teammate Dan there, but I'm cheering against him. He's got the bounty on his head. We got to take out that bounty player. So, unfortunate, but it's all right. Someone else can take him down. We may see him again. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, you never know.
That's 1-0.
But no, I think obviously Daniel's still learning how to play hammer, so I don't expect him to play it perfectly. I thought what he did was fine. Nothing I was seeing too much learnness like he needs to address.
Oh yeah, we also Tyler bringing in Thoughtseize is really indicative of how weak his sideboard is for this matchup.
Yeah,
Two pushes definitely solid. I mean, Thoughtseize is like whatever. It's like fine, but the fact that these are the only 4 cards that came in, okay, 5 cards or 3 pushes, really signifies just how poor his sideboard is built for the matchup. I cannot believe there are no copies of Natural State
yeah,
in his
it's so
sideboard.
wild because I'm expecting those kind of cards. Like I over on your left, Daniel's bringing in the endings and the pithy needles.
Yep,
Um,
makes
and
sense.
and Tyler, like I like the fatal pushes are fine. Um,
Yeah,
they hit everything
they're
in
the
the deck,
Esper Sentinels
but
that we
you should
talked about.
definitely have. You're playing green. You have the value of all these good artifact removal spells or
Yeah,
artifact and
yeah.
enchantment removal. I think I'm going to prioritize playing at least some sort of numbers of those.
Yeah, and we talked about. I mean, initially I was like, "Oh, why isn't he playing Force?" But then when we thought about it a little more, you actually don't have many green cards to pitch in this deck, so
Yeah,
Force
no,
isn't
for
very good.
sure. I wasn't advocating the play force. I'm saying that they
Yeah,
could.
yep,
Um,
no, I agree. But yeah, I think Natural State is the way that this sideboard should be. There should be some number because they blow up Saga too. I mean, it's just a good card, a clean, solid card for matchups. Tyler may want to look into that card in the future. Especially if Hammer remains somewhat popular, and it probably will. I think it's going to be a staple of Modern for quite some time. But yeah, I mean, it was a good round one here. Congratulations to Dan again, obviously, teammate Dan getting a win there.
yeah,
Um, and
Daniel got
yeah,
it 2-0. That was our very first round we've ever recorded for Swish on location at Galactic Toys and Games in Kentwood, Michigan. We're looking forward to doing some more, but in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and we're going to transition over to the second round. And we
yes,
will be. So check out our next video when we go for round 2. What decks shall we see? You'll have to tune in and find out. We'll catch you for the next video.